live.
It is live. Come on over, Jim. Hi, everybody. I'm Cheryl Fisher.
I'm Jim Hansen.
And we are both educators here at Woodford Cedar Run Wildlife Refuge. And today, what we're going to discuss is what's in the water. So we have collected a couple samples, actually many samples, and I have been playing around with the samples that we collected just from our lake water right here. So what we are going to see are animals that you wouldn't expect, that you don't normally see, but they're called macroinvertebrates. So macro means you can see it, even though they're very small, and micro means very, very small. You really can't see it without magnifying it with a microscope or even a magnifying glass. So we have found some critters that are living in the water already, and we are going to show you how to do this investigation on your own. Maybe you have a nearby stream. I know Jim has also done work with South Jersey Land and Water Trust, where just by the critters that are in the water, you can determine the health of the stream. Did you want to add to that?
Yeah, so different kind of aquatic insects will survive in different quality of water. So if you find ones that really like fresh, clean water, real fast moving, if you find them in a stream, you can have pretty good, reasonable doubts in your mind of, okay, this is probably going to be a nice, clean stream. Whereas if you dig through the mud, you only find little tiny worms, little tiny sow bugs, some stuff that is really, really hardy, but you're not finding anything sensitive. That may be a sign either the river, the lake, or the stream, wherever you're looking in there, might be a little bit dirty, might be a little bit polluted. You might have to figure out some way to check into that further. So you can just tell that just by based on what's living in the water. Nice little tiny things, easy to see. You don't need big fancy equipment for it.
No, we do. We have very common household items right here. So if you wanted to do this on your own, you don't have to buy any equipment. You can just use many household items. So we're going to show you what types of things that you'll need to do to complete this activity. This is something I could do for hours. It just really is soothing and interesting, and you can extend on this throughout the week if you're an educator. And this is a wonderful population study, even for those that are at a higher level. So fortunately, we have a spring-fed lake, and our water system is very clean, considering that we get our water from an aquifer right below our feet. So we don't have many lawns around here either, which aren't polluting our waterways. So we do have some pretty good samples. But I'm going to show you some common household items that you can use to complete this task. So one thing that I am not an advocate for plastics or styrofoam, but if it does end up in my house, I find a way to use it. So this plastic container, you can see it has 18 egg holes, which gives us the perfect space for 18 samples. The one thing that I would recommend is making sure that you have a white towel so you can see through it with the least disruption. And what else? Do you want to?
You could also use just a little ice tray. Obviously, this would not be one you would actually make ice with. You're going to be putting all the dirt and dirty water and insects and everything in there. But again, little compartments let you separate. Once you find a certain insect, you can put one in here. Make sure it has some water in there because these are aquatic insects. And most of them do need to be under the water in order to breathe. So you just put a little bit of water in there and you can sort them out, each one, and it helps you kind of figure which ones are which and count them out. Makes the whole process a lot easier for you. So a bunch of different things you can use to help sort.
Additionally, here at the animal hospital, we use baby foods. So I have used these clear containers, these wonderful baby food containers. They come with lids as well. So this one has a lid. I have a critter in here that I'm going to show you in a minute. So you can call them observation dishes, or jazz it up any way you want for your kids, or just you. I use these all the time. So if I find something, I want to take a look at an insect, I want to identify it, but then I put the animals back. So these are wonderful as well. They are clear. Put them on a white. The way that we collected our water, you can just use this pint cup and just scoop. So the way to do it is I'm going to show you some stuff, is to make sure that you get the litter on the bottom, because this is where a lot of critters are going to live, but you want to make sure that you get some water as well. So you can use bigger. I just want to make sure that I don't have any animals on there so you guys can see. So we're going to show you how to investigate. So of course we have some more samples here, and then I have a clear glass container here where I've let our water settle. So this is what we call iced tea water here at Cedar Red. We have these cedar lakes, and the tannins from the Atlantic white cedar, they end up turning the water this black color or tea color. So I'm just letting it settle, to let those particulates settle. And if you can see very, very closely, I don't know if it's going to pick it up, you can actually see things start to swim around. So it's wonderful. They're very, very small though, so this is going to be hard. But what we're looking for is tiny little animals that live in the water. Now a lot of animals use this water system, you got to get down here, for a nursery. This is where a lot of animals have babies. So a dragonfly, let me see. A dragonfly starts off, I don't know if you can see it. Maybe I need a piece of paper behind it.
Oh, yeah.
So a dragonfly will actually start off being hatched in the water, and then they become a nymph. So they metamorphosize. So they don't start out like this, they start out as something very different. And I'm going to show you some other critters that I have here today as well. But you can see that some of these animals look very, very different. This is a damselfly. So damselflies, you can see their wings. I know it's difficult, guys, I'm sorry. So their wings are flat back rather than spread out, but their nymphs, or their babies, look very, very different. So what we're looking for are nymphs today, or immature animals, or invertebrates. So we are looking for invertebrates. They do not have a backbone. And I printed this wonderful sheet out for you to help us identify what we're going to do. So I got this from the Watershed Council, and I can add this link online when we're done. But it's a wonderful spreadsheet. You know, does it have a shell? Does it have any tails? Is it worm-like? So we're going to try and identify some of these animals that we are looking for in here. So Jim and I were having a lot of fun. So we are just digging around in our sample here. So I'm just going to bring this closer.
It's going to be something you have to not be afraid to get a little bit dirty. Your hand's going to get a little gross. Don't worry. You can wash off. You'll be fine. Just a little bit wet, a little bit muddy, but it'll be all right.
So I'll bring this a little bit closer so we can see.
Have you started yet?
Yes. Feel free to come on over. So what we're going to do is just to try not to move the water around too much. You first look with your eyes, and we are going to just pick up a leaf here and really just see if we can see anything squirming around. So these flat leaves are where they really like to hide. And you can see worm-like creatures. And Jim and I were getting really excited over our finds earlier. Don't worry, you'll get to see some things. But these animals, many don't reach maturity, but you can see, as far as our habitat, it provides food for a lot of organisms that live here. And here we go. This is not a macroinvertebrate, but this is called bladderwort. So this is a carnivorous plant that lives in the lake. I'm not sure if you guys can see it. I'm trying to find it. There we go. Let me see if I can go here. So this is bladderwort. I have some larger samples over here. And it has bladders, so to say. It has these little pockets, And these pockets have triggers. So once a little animal swims by, it'll capture it and devour it. So it's really just a wonderful plant, and the pinelands are really unique to an array of carnivorous plants. So you can see that this bladderwort is probably very happy here, so it's growing all over the place. And let's see if we can find any animals. Oh my gosh! Look at that. Jim was very excited. He didn't even say anything. He found something. Go ahead, show him what it is.
So what we had showed you on a little close-up for the adult is that dragonfly, which most people are very familiar with. They know what it looks like. It's flying around. It's very good to have around because they eat a lot of smaller little mosquitoes and gnats that might try to hurt us. The adults don't want to hurt us at all. But in the water, let me get a little spoon here. As they are growing up, as they are a nymph, so not quite an adult yet. I'll come up here, tilt it a little bit.
The focus is tough.
You can see this is a dragonfly nymph. And this one is pretty calm, so I actually rest it on my hand.
Here, I'll get a lid for this guy too.
And I can try and find the focus. But you can see these guys actually have 6 legs as they crawl around. They crawl through the bottom of the mud, through all that leaf litter. And these guys are excellent, excellent predators. So if you are any other kind of little macroinvertebrate walking around here, this is kind of like a big giant tiger roaming around there you don't want to run into. These guys are very dangerous because they actually... There's another one right there. You see they can move really quick when they want to.
More active.
They have an extendable lower jaw. So if any of you have seen the movie Alien, some of that, how they have that bottom part. They calm down when they're in my hand, apparently. Sit still. All right. So their bottom jaw will actually extend out. And I'll crow down here. So they come out and they go, and they grab, and then they pull it back in their mouth, and then they munch up and have their dinner. They can even eat tadpoles, and they could even eat small fish. They can get a whole lot bigger than this. Sometimes their abdomen, way in the back here, is big and round, kind of like flat like a penny. Sometimes it's big and oblong like this. Just depends on what kind of species of dragonfly they are. But they all are going to be living in the water for at least a portion of their lives. It's where they lay their eggs. It's where they hatch out. They have their nymph stage. Once they get big enough and once they get old enough, which for some species of dragonfly it can take over a year for them to reach the adult stage. As he goes try to hop off my finger, I'll put him back in the water there. As they reach the adult part, they will climb up out of the water, whether it would be on a little branch like this, sticking up out of the water. Dragonfly nymph would climb up. Nice warm sunny day. Its exoskeleton, remember these are invertebrates, they have no bones inside, they have that exoskeleton on the outside, it would crack open. The dragonfly that we normally are used to with the wings and everything would kind of fall out. It would stretch out its wings, it would dry out, pump some special kind of fluid through its wings to get them nice and stiff and unfurled, and then it would have a nice life as an adult. We got another one there.
So they're in the leaf litter like crazy, eating the smaller macroinvertebrates. Where they like to hide, they hide behind the leaf litter. You can see that they are perfectly adapted for this aquatic system, and their color is perfectly camouflaged as well.
I'll give him his own since we're having
That's
a little crowded.
It is crowded. There you go.
So these guys are, as I believe, kind of in the middle range as far as health quality is. So having these is pretty good. Means there's a decent amount of health, and plus if you have, especially how many we have, that means there's food for them. So there's a lot of other life for them to eat. Find them. That's a pretty good sign. Our little area we collected from mainly 2 different areas. So we got 2 little sample sessions. So both at a kind of a still area and an area that right comes in where the spring comes into our lake part. So far looking pretty good.
Yeah, I think we got luckier with the leaf litter rather than the pine litter. I'm not sure why that is, but that could be for further investigation. Maybe pine litter is too acidic for some of these animals. But that is something that I would question myself and consider doing further investigations on. So you just want to take a look in between these leaves, on the underside of the leaves, and sometimes you can find snails and slugs and worm-like things. Ooh, and you got a sow bug?
So right here, I'll see if I can get it in here. Right towards the tip, of course facing away from you now. So many of you, if you lift up, you're going through the woods or in the yard, you lift up a little log, you may find something we call a little roly-poly. This is kind of related to them. This is a little sow bug. And you can see it has a whole bunch of legs, just like little roly-polies do. It doesn't really curl up quite as much as the land versions ones that we are used to. But it's all spread out, kind of has a little layer of armor up on top of it. And it crawls around the water, and again, eats little tiny bits of the leaf litter. So what helps this water have that nice tea kind of color that Cheryl was talking about before, all the tannins. That's going to help broken up by all these little tiny animals. As they eat the leaves, they'll break up little tiny pieces. It helps all that chemicals leach out into the water and give it our nice, wonderful color that we're used to here.
So this looks like a soldier fly. So on our little identification sheet, you're going to see, is it worm-like? Yes, believe it or not, a lot of these insects start out looking a lot like a worm. So this is called a soldier fly. I know it's really difficult to see, but you can see there's a little tiny guy in here. And maybe you can see him swimming around in there. He's very active. And these are carnivorous animals as well. So a lot of these macroinvertebrates will eat the leaf litter as it's decomposing, but others will eat each other.
With that in mind, notice how we are kind of reaching in with our bare hands. That is kind of a brave statement, some might say, because some of these creatures do have jaws that actually can hurt you a little bit. It's not going to tear your finger off or anything like that, but it could give you a nice little nip. Not going to feel too comfortable. Stuff like the dragonfly, they can give you a nice little sharp pinch. Crayfish, they'd be in there. They'd give you a good little pinch there. Water scorpions, that's a bad sting. You don't want to get hit by one of those ones. Those are not fun at all. So if you don't want to go around with your hands, you can use things like spoons. If you have little tiny nets.
Oh, and then we have pipettes. A turkey baster is very good. Just anything. I know, where's the pipette?
There it is.
Here's the pipette. So a pipette, you can find these just about anywhere. Me being a science teacher, I have these by the trillions. So these are wonderful for sucking up even micro invertebrates. So even though you can't see anything, you can probably I can't get focused. But maybe? Is it going to happen? Sorry, guys. It's not going to happen. But there are Daphnia in here, which are like water fleas, and they are very, very active, and I can actually see millions of them swimming around in here right now, but there's no way that I'm going to pick it up on my camera. So not only do macroinvertebrates live in the water here, but we do have vertebrates that live in the water here that rely on these macroinvertebrates for their offspring. So as we were doing our sampling, we also found a friend.
See if he wants to cooperate here.
I know. Let's see if he's going to cooperate.
There we go.
There you go. How cute is this guy? So we got ourselves a little green frog. And we're going to put him right back, so it's really important to try not to catch frogs if you're out here, especially if you're using bug spray or sunscreen, because these guys do absorb oxygen throughout their skin, and putting anything on your skin and adding it to theirs could be very toxic to them. So this little guy, he is eating good, and so are his offspring. So they have their babies in the water, and their babies end up being carnivorous as they grow up. They start off as vegetarians, but they do become carnivorous once they start growing their legs. But I'm going to show you a nymph up close as well. I wasn't sure if I was going to see some of these things. So I don't know what time it is. Hi, Heather. Hi, Heather. It's too funny. Okay. So here I have something that does not look like its parent at all. So you can see that this is a tiny little insect, and this is the offspring of one of my class pets, honestly. Does anybody know what this very fast creature might be? It's something we don't want in our homes. This is an animal from Madagascar, actually, originally. They don't fly, and they do live in the leaf litter as well. So this animal will metamorphosize into something that looks rather different. So having no backbone, these invertebrates shed their exoskeleton many times during their life until they reach their adult stage. So I'm going to show you the parent.
Again, like you said, this is not one you would find in your house around here unless you bought it intentionally.
I know.
But they have relatives around here.
Yeah. But these guys you can see a little bit better up close. Oh, there it is. So these guys you can see up close. This is actually Sheila. So these are my school class pets. See? This is called a Madagascar hissing cockroach. Now, insects and invertebrates are very important to every ecosystem. They provide food. They also help keep pests down. So these are not pests in their neighborhood. But you can see this looks very different than the baby. Yeah, this is Sheila. Sheila's been handled a lot. So Sheila has spiracles. I'm not sure if you can see. She has these holes on her side, and that's where she breathes. And they do hiss if they feel threatened or if they feel like they're going to be eaten. And these guys can live several years. This is her, the last size she will get. So she will no longer shed her exoskeleton. They do shed their exoskeleton maybe about a dozen times in their lifetime before they reach this size. So you can see that her offspring was very, very small. And that is to help them with survival as far as hiding, because you can see that these guys are pretty easy to see as well. So you can see that they have this hard outside skeleton. It's an exoskeleton. That's what exo means. Endoskeleton is an internal skeleton. So I just wanted you guys to see an insect up close as it had turned into an adult, because let's face it, catching adult insects at this point is really difficult. So we're going to put Sheila back. She's going to hang out with her kids. She's going to hang out with her kids. And they can actually have up to 50 babies for one parent, and that's pretty amazing. So we have several samples here, and I think Jim and I are going to keep playing with our water sample.
See what else we can find in here.
We're going to see what else we can find.
Go put frog back.
I know, and we're going to put the frog back. He probably is going to get a couple easy meals too out of some dragonfly nymphs. But if you guys ever have any questions, feel free to add them here. I hope you guys enjoyed our session today, and it was nice working with Jim today. So thanks for visiting again, guys, and I'll see you next Saturday.
See you.